You're listening to This Week in America with Rick Bratton.
Welcome back, everybody. This Week in America, website thisweekinamerica.us. Great to have you with us on the program today. As mentioned, our special guest, Tania van Zijl. She is a Bachelor of Psychology degree from the University of Western Australia. In her new book, The Spiritual Dimension, Find It in Your Life Easily, she draws on her background in psychology to explain spiritual constructs in a comical, easy-to-understand way that can assist any reader wanting to pursue a new way to find solutions. Tania van Zijl with us on the program. Tania, welcome to the show. It's great to have you with us.
It's great to be here. Thank you.
Looking forward to talking about the book, The Spiritual Dimension, Find It in Your Life Easily. And first of all, I mentioned your background in psychology. Let's talk about how the book came about, how you decided to do the book, and who you hope to help with this.
Well, after being diagnosed with panic attack disorder myself, I turned to my own field, psychology, and it didn't really help me without taking medication. Now, medication was not an option for me because all my life prior to this time, I was a strong advocate of drug-free healing for depression and anxiety until, of course, it happens to you. Then it was a different story. I was ready to take anything. But there was a point when I realised that I was sort of being asked to practice what I'd been preaching all these years. So I sort of took it as a spiritual challenge and turned to my spiritual literature that I'd been reading and practicing all my life. What I discovered, though, is that everything I'd learnt and read and practiced was just a mental concept. It was just mental inspiration or concepts, entertainment, but no real lasting transformation until I discovered what I call the access point. So after that, I was on a mission to help people in all states of unhappiness, gifting them with spiritual books on psychology, whatever I could help them with.
Right.
But what I found was that nobody read them. I got comments like, it's too many words, it doesn't make sense, I only understand it when you tell me, I don't like reading, I'm in no state to read. So I realised that there was a need to present the information more simply.
The book is called The Spiritual Dimension, Find It in Your Life Easily, Important Spiritual Messages of Our Time for People Who Don't Like Reading. The author is our guest on the program, Tania van Zijl. The book is illustrated by Joel. Talk about the illustrations, because that's what really makes the book. You'll read a sentence or even a paragraph in the book, and then you see the illustration there. It's like, yeah, I understand exactly what she's talking about.
The illustrations took a long time to figure out and even to do for the illustrator. But I decided to do illustrations because there's a huge percentage of people out there that need the assistance, but they don't like reading. They'll tell you they've only ever read 3 books in their life. So, and sometimes it's because their learning style is right brain dominant. So they learn through pictures and they learn through example as opposed to instructions. So they'll say, show me how to do it, don't tell me how to do it. So I thought the pictures would help a lot of people that don't like reading, that need the assistance and a way out of suffering, unhappiness, any form of stress anything that wipes the smile off your face.
The book is called The Spiritual Dimension, Find It in Your Life Easily. The website is thespiritualdimension.net. The book, of course, is available at Amazon. And you can go to our website, thisweekinamerica.us, and link on directly to Tania's website and get all the information on the book. You say right at the beginning of the book, for hundreds of years, man has fought for freedom of speech. Now is the time in which freedom of thought is the ultimate requirement for the survival of humanity. Talk about that, because in the book, The Spiritual Dimension, a lot is focused on thought. And we'll get to some of those topics in a minute or so. But talk about why that is so important.
Well, we're at a stage where we think and we overthink, and it builds so much momentum that thinking actually happens through us now and not by us. And the challenge is to be in control of your thinking so that the thinking doesn't happen through you but happens by you. There's a lot of people that tell me they go to sleep at night and they can't fall asleep. Their thoughts keep them awake all night. But the quote for now is the time, because now is the period of time that we need to focus on and live in. It's the now. It's the access point to the spiritual dimension.
Yes, and in the book, The Spiritual Dimension, you talk about most of us are caught up either in the past or in the future. And that's one of our biggest mistakes in unhappiness, isn't it?
Yes. Firstly, we don't make a problem of it, but in the book there's a few illustrations where it shows you mentally in your mind to delete the past, delete the future, and focus on what's left, because that's the strongest predictor of your future, is the energy you bring to that space of now. And the book will give you a few. Everyday life is the best way to practice the non-thought. Every hour, like just to take a minute to concentrate on your breath. And that's enough. Just to break the momentum of thought that keeps building and building and building until it's almost solidified and plays through us, as opposed to us choosing to think.
Well, I like that approach because it seems manageable. So often we're thinking it's an all or nothing situation, and what you're talking about is a process. Let's take it in little chunks here, and let's build on our success. That's why the book is really so impactful. The Spiritual Dimension, Find It in Your Life Easily, because it breaks everything down where we're able, again, through the illustrations and through the examples you have in the book, where we're really able to have a takeaway from this and to turn our life around. In the book, you've got a character, Fred. Talk about Fred and the fact that you're just trying to get an hour from him for concentration to give this a chance, and you can literally turn his life around.
Fred, the main character, represents a typical perspective of many people with regard to spiritual teachings and their importance to people's daily lives. And he's challenged to 1 hour of his time for a glimpse of the spiritual dimension. And that's because people are living very busy lives. 1 hour is all they're prepared to give. If you can give them a glimpse in 1 hour, they'll do it. If it's going to take forever, they're not going to try. So the challenge was to keep the book within an hour. That was the hardest part of putting it together, was to keep the book being able to be read in 1 hour.
And you can comfortably read the book in an hour. Tania van Zijl, our guest on the program. The book is called The Spiritual Dimension, Find It in Your Life Easily. Her website is thespiritualdimension.net. You can go to our website, thisweekinamerica.us, and log on to directly to Tania's website and get all of the information. One thing you say early on in the book, the mind is not you. And I've read that like multiple times to make sure I was reading it correctly. Talk about that concept, and then talk about teletop, which is another term you use in the book.
Well, the mind is not you. People believe they're the mind, and what the book tries to show you is how it provides a simple instructions of a way of being that will assist you by stopping the mind. The concept of the mind is not you is because most people think they're their mind. They believe in all their thoughts, and what's happened is that the mind's taken over because they keep thinking, and they build the momentum, and the mind takes over. They believe they're their mind. But what the purpose of the book is to be able to stop the mind so that you can open up to a dimension that is behind the mind, or you, the dimension of you.
It's interesting because you mentioned the voice in the head creates the story. The body believes and reacts, and it becomes an emotion. And when you put it that way, again, it's very simple, but it's like understandable. Yes, what we believe, basically the rest of our body is responding, and all of a sudden it becomes reality.
And it keeps feeding itself.
Yes.
And you see all the time in people where it keeps feeding itself and feeding itself. And that's the cycle that we need to be aware and to break. And it's just an everyday thing that we do. We see ourselves doing it, and it's so simple to just be aware. And once you bring awareness to it, then you can break the cycle.
One of the illustrations in the book, you say the thoughts are like cars in traffic on a busy intersection, and it shows what normally is going on in most of our minds as the traffic is going through and our thoughts are going through during the day. And then you showed the mind of someone who's spiritually aware. Talk about the contrast in there, because I want to be the one with the spiritually aware mind, so my intersection isn't quite as clogged as the other one.
Okay, the spiritually aware person has control over his thoughts, so he lets them go when he chooses, so he has the policeman there. Whereas it was just a way to show people a contrast of what you want, because most people will say, well, so what? If I can control my thoughts, who cares? And the point is, well, okay, it's okay if your thoughts are not, keeping you awake and your thoughts are good, but what if your thoughts aren't so good, and what if your thoughts start bossing you? What if you feel like you are being bossed by your thoughts or being kept up at night by your thoughts? Then it is important to have some control over your thoughts. And that was why the two distinctions were shown, to see what we're aiming for and how we generally are.
Did you see that transformation in your mind? Was this like a conscious where it's like, wow, all of a sudden I've got a little serenity, peace of mind here, and I'm able to attack life in a much more positive way because I'm in control of my thoughts?
Yes. Things open up easier for you. You find that you're not as reactive. You tend to choose more loving responses. And you're not so attached to the physical world. You're more sort of have a connection with an inner being or a source. The source, our source. You can call it the spiritual dimension, God, creator, whatever you like. Yes, that's what happens.
How long did it take if you're just joining us, our guest on the program, Tania van Zijl. She's author of the book, The Spiritual Dimension, Find It in Your Life Easily. Her website is thespiritualdimension.net. Psychologist, and this came through your life as you're fighting panic attack. And the way most people say you handle this is like you take some medication and you found that you just didn't want to do that. You needed to find another way. How long did it take you to develop the concept of the spiritual dimension?
The information's all out there in a lot of spiritual literature, psychological literature, mainly in the spiritual literature. It's just that it's a lot of words and it's sifting through volumes and volumes of teachings. Yes. and practices and retreats and what have you. And the reason... But the illustrations were what came to me when I chose to go through the panic attack disorder without medications. And the concept of the book was something that I thought about when I found that the books were not being read, that I was purchasing for people to help them out of their states of unhappiness.
And there are a number of people that you've been able to help with the concept. The Spiritual Dimension, Find It in Your Life Easily is the name of the book, available at thespiritualdimension.net. It helped you with panic anxiety disorder. You've helped a lot of other people with drinking issues, just general emotional issues. So really anyone who has any type of psychological problem like this, any type of dependency problem, it's an effective way to attack it, isn't it?
Well, it provides simple instructions and a way of being that will assist anyone dealing with stressful situations that are evoking strong emotions or thoughts. An example is quitting smoking. I've heard lots of people say you just don't have a strong enough mind. But the truth is, smokers have exceptionally strong minds. It's their exceptionally strong mind that keeps them smoking. What they need is access to an entity more powerful than the mind, which I've called the spiritual dimension. They need a mechanism to stop the thoughts that continually play through us of how much they want that. So you can stop those thoughts that automatically play, but they're in a better position to stop their addiction.
A lot of great applications for the book, The Spiritual Dimension. Find it in your life easily. Important spiritual messages of our time for people who don't like reading. Excellent illustrations in the book. The author is Tania van Zijl, our guest on the program. Our website is thespiritualdimension.net. You talk also, and I've heard others talk about this, thinking with your heart. Talk about that concept and how we can do that, because I've had people say once they started doing this, it really turned their lives around.
Yes, it's very, very powerful. It probably stems from a Greek philotimo, which is a love of mankind, but it's also connected with what I call the new consciousness, in that there's a lot of people out there that at the moment, to put it in a practical example, feel like running out and the street and singing, screaming, "What about me?" They're feeling like that. Are we on still?
Yes.
Feeling like they've had enough. Singing the Shannon Knoll, or the Moving Pictures song, and they're feeling like there's significant people around them that are causing this feeling. But then each person in that circle is also feeling the same, and that's a lot of people that I've spoken to. And the key here is that we're moving to more heart-based living, and a lot of the problems are not being solved through the mind, but rather through the heart. So thinking with the heart is sort of a tool that we're sort of moving towards, because we need to be more solving our problems now through the heart, giving more as opposed to taking more.
We've got a couple minutes left in the program. Talk about the response that you're getting to the book, because there's such great information here. It's manageable information. It's easily understandable information. Again, basically because of the illustrations there, it's very easy to look at a picture and it's like, yeah, okay, now I understand. That makes perfect sense. What type of reaction are you getting?
A good reaction, a very good reaction, a very strong reaction. Yes. I've had some feedback from people that have bought the book. I've had people contact me, carry the book with them wherever they go, particularly people in panic attack. There's a few pictures that help them. And yes, the reaction's been great. I've been very pleased.
The book is called The Spiritual Dimension. Find it in your life easily. Important spiritual messages of our time for people who don't like reading. Tania van Zijl is our guest on the program, the author of the book. Her website is thespiritualdimension.net. Tania, it's been a pleasure having you on the program. It's an excellent book. I'm sure you will continue to reach out and help a number of people. You've taken a very complex problem, a very frightening problem for a lot of people, and made it, very, like I said, very manageable and understandable with solutions there. And I can see where someone could just look at an illustration and suddenly get reinforced. I go back to the one with the mind and all the thoughts going through that, and that's impactful for me, and it takes about 15 seconds to take a look at. An excellent job. Thank you so much for joining us on the program.
Thank you for having me.
It has been our pleasure. And once again, the book is called The Spiritual Dimension. Find it in your life easily. The website is thespiritualdimension.net. Book, of course, available at Amazon. And you can link on to our website to get more information and link on directly to Tania's website, our website, thisweekinamerica.us.